Alright people, as I promised, today we're going to be going over a practice test. Again, this is not made by me. I found this online. Rosedale Academy apparently made it. But yeah, we're going to be cracking out all these questions, and I will post the link of this in the description of this video. If you need, go ahead. Which specialized organs of a plant perform photosynthesis? Right away, we know that the part that is green has the most chlorophyll. Right here, leaves. That is the only right answer because it's very green, therefore it has chlorophyll. What does chlorophyll do? Chlorophyll, they perform photosynthesis. In which layer does the majority of photosynthesis take place? Right away we know that there are two types of mesophyll. So we learned that mesophyll layer, they're responsible for photosynthesis, and right away we can tell this one was the correct answer, because if you remember, Palisade was the one that was straight up and all that, while the spongy one was just there to fill in the airspace. So B is the correct answer for number 2. The large central root of a carrot is an example of which type of system? So a large central root, we can already tell by these two words, large central. That means it's a taproot. Only taproot has a really long root that has small roots branching from it. The diploid form of a plant cycle. So remember, diploids start with a di, so it means it's 2. So what does that mean? That means it is sporophyte, because this gametophyte, it was the haploid cycle. Sporophyte, it was a diploid. Just gotta remember. Vascular bundles of a dicot stems. So this one's kind of knowledge. It's in rings surrounded by the ground tissue. Where is it? Yeah, 8 right there. Which accurately describes movement of sugar? Not xylem. Phloem right here. Describe the movement of sugar? What? Okay, so I think it's B. Osmosis. Okay, that's not true. That's not true. Okay, yeah, no, it's B. I thought C and D was talking about the mechanics, but apparently it's talking about water. So sugar are transported in the phloem from the roots to the leaves for winter storage. What best describes a monocot? Roots have vascular tissue arranged in a star shape. Leaf. So usually if you can't straight up tell what it is, you just gotta go and eliminate. So right off the bat, we know this is not true. Palmate and pinnate, this is not true. Flowers, nope, this is not true. Remember, monocot is in 3 or multiples of 3. Woody stem, not true. So right there we can tell it typically have fibrous roots, which matches with what we learned. Perfect flowers. So remember, there's two different things that we describe flowers. There's perfect and imperfect, and there was the other one, if you remember. So perfect, imperfect, we are actually talking about if it has the male and female reproductive organs. So right here, that would be, where is right there. Number C, they contain stamens and pistils, which is male, female. I think I'm right? Which of the structure is the outcome of a reproduction in angiosperms? Alright, number 9. So flower, nope, that's what we use to reproduce, not what's the outcome. Seed, so that's your answer right here. This is a fruit, this is pollen, definitely not true. You don't even know what that is. So when you see a vocabulary that you never learned, just know it's probably not that. Perovination in the leaf is evidence that a plant is monocot right off the bat. So if you got this, this question right, and you know that this is wrong, this is not the correct statement for a monocot, meaning it's going to be describing a dicot. So what does that mean? It means that parallel, the other one, is definitely going to be a monocot. Use the questions to your best. Okay, label. So A is the waxy outer layer. Epidermis. You can give upper epidermis. Yeah, you kind of have to, because yeah, I can't tell, but this I would be convinced that it's not really clear. I would be okay if you said stomata, or if you said lower epidermis, But yeah, I would be happy if you said stomata, because this was a hole. And I suppose this is the only opening here. They didn't point to this one. So they specifically pointed to here, so I guess that's probably the stomata. And B right here, that's our palisade mesophyll, which is the one actually responsible for photosynthesis. Also, this is what I was talking about earlier. This one was the straight one, actually responsible, and these were just for airspace, so that the plants can still have air traveling. Spongy mesophyll. Now this we went over slightly. We didn't cover too much of this, but you're likely going to be tested on this. So A is a seed coat, the outer layer, seed coat. B is the cotyledon, that's the stuff, and hypocotyl is number C, and D I think is a radicle. But again, you don't need to know all this. You just need to identify whether the seed is a monocot or dicot. Section 3, thinking. So thinking questions are usually a little harder, or to say, it requires some sort of application to an extent. So if you aren't good with application, it's usually not so good. The roofs of abandoned buildings, parking lots, and old stone walls often display signs of succession. Explain which form of succession is most likely and why is this the case? Wow. Okay, so you gotta understand that these abandoned buildings, parking lots, no matter how much we built onto it, there was soil vegetation and there was some sort of development that was being made beforehand. So right off the bat, you know it's going to be secondary succession. So obviously, people could be like, oh, it's just pure rock. Maybe if you're like on top of something or above something, there's nothing. It's just pure rock. So sure, you could argue it's primary succession. But however, remember, application question is all about arguing. If you are able to argue your opinion and be like, hey, it's just pure stone, it's just pure walls. The pioneer species are going to come in and die and do that again to develop the soil. Sure, if you can argue it, and it makes sense, then the teacher will give you correct. But in my opinion, it's secondary succession because there are already development being made. And this type of succession is usually pretty common in abandoned urban locations where human activity has already been established. And the existing soil and all of these seeds that died, they will help to facilitate pretty much rapid regrowth. Okay, 14. Is it likely that the first seed plants evolved before the first vascular plant did? Why or why not? Explain your answer with reference to a diagram below on the right, and use structure of vascular and non-vascular plants to support your answer. Alright, we're going to zoom in a little here. This is a non-vascular plant. This is a vascular plant. All of these. What does MIA stand for? What does MIA stand for? Let's search it up. Million years ago, yeah. Okay. 140 million. Wait, did they just tell us the answer? Wait a minute, that's... Wait a minute. So 350 million years ago, that was the first vascular plant. Is it likely that the first seed plants evolved? Wait a minute. Okay. Wait, okay, so not so confusing. So yeah, vascular plants, seed plants, 700 million years ago, 350. I thought they would go from right to left, but whatever. So obviously, vascular plants came before seed plants. So vascular plants, they have specialized structure, xylem and phloem, for transporting water and nutrients, which are basically essential for the development of seeds. Because you need to be able to store all of your nutrients and make sure that they don't go to put them into a seed. So non-vascular plants like mosses and liverworts, they lack these structures, and so therefore they reproduce by they are seedless, so they lack these vascular structure. That's why they reproduce by spores or pollen, if you say. So therefore, it's going to be very likely that vascular tissue was pretty much a prerequisite for the development of seeds, making it fairly unlikely that seed plants have evolved before vascular plants. So you just gotta use the diagram and use your common knowledge that they don't reproduce by seed. These mosses, they're non-vascular. And then you see they don't reproduce, they reproduce by spores and stuff, and they're non-vascular, meaning that you kind of need to have some sort of vascular stuff to produce your seeds. Predict what will happen to the health of a plant if it's xylem or phloem. So that will highly depend if all of the xylem and all of the phloem is damaged. But however, the plant's health is going to be quite severely affected, obviously. So xylem is responsible for transporting water and minerals. I need that point. Phloem transports products of photosynthesis, which is sugars, nutrients, and basically you can just say food if you want, but we need to get a little specific. So I need that as a second point. And then you identified what the xylem and the phloem do. Now you gotta identify why is it important. You gotta be like, xylem and phloem are crucial for maintaining the plant's living and maintaining its structure, and these damage to these structures potentially mean the plant might die as it's susceptible to physical damage, and potentially it's going to die out because it has no food and it's hungry and it's going to die because it can't store its food. Maybe it can produce, but what if it comes to a rainy day? No more storage means the plant dies. Why does running over seeds with a lawn mower make the seed problem worse? Oh, okay. So basically just makes more weed. Sure. So essentially weeds are seed producing plants. So when we actually go run over it, we will spread the seed and disperse it all across the lawn. So that I can't tell if we're trying to kill the plant or trying to make the seeds germinate. So you gotta understand that this action is not killing the stuff, rather you're just spreading the seed. And then you want to talk about this is succession. It's cutting the weeds. It's going to triggers the weed system and causes its root system to send up new shoots and resulting in pretty much more weeds. And you gotta talk about we don't cut the roots. So essentially, if the root is there, the plant isn't technically dead, and it doesn't mean it's cut it. It's just there. It's still there. You don't kill it, and unless you kill the root all the way up, which the lawn mower cannot do, you're not killing the plant. In the small intestines of... Wait a minute. In the small intestines, the surface area for the absorption of water and nutrients is increased by the presence of small projections on the surface of the cell called microvilli. What structure in the plant serve a similar purpose? So you don't have... So this part, I'm glad they gave you a full description because we're supposed to do internal system before plants. However, we didn't. So you're just gonna know these increase surface area. What increase surface area in plants? Root hairs. So root hairs, they increase the surface area so that plants can go ahead and absorb water, more nutrients from the soil, and it's pretty much the same as microvilli, that as it increases the surface area for absorption in the small intestine of humans. Describe the possible effects on plant reproduction if its stamen was removed or in flowering stage of plant growth. See right here. So when we talk about the multiple choice, you just gotta remember one. Like pistils, sure, you remember it. And then you see stamen, reproductive organ here. Then you can go back and maybe change your answer if you got it wrong. So it's that you always learn from the questions. It's possible that you learn on exam. Exams, they're just ways to test your strategies. Okay, so that means this stamen, no more pollen production. The plant can't reproduce. Remember that stamen is necessary for fertilization and seed formation. What else? It reduces seed production, I think. Fertilization, which causes the seed to not grow. What are the possible solutions? Well, we can potentially mechanically, let's replace it with another plant's stamen, and we transfer it up to the pistils of the affected plant. Sure. So I think this will work because despite the absence of its own stamen, I guess this that we put on a new statement from another plant, it will essentially enable seed production and successful reproduction. You can identify different strategies. Remember, these are thinking and application questions. There's absolutely billions of answers out there. If your answer makes sense, and in both intuitively and factually, then sure, you can go ahead and argue it with your teacher. Graphic organizer to compare and contrast the movement of sugar and water. Okay. Appropriateness of choice graphic work. Okay. Awesome. So we will do, let's say, can I write on this? Well, I can. Okay. Can I? Okay. You know what? I'll leave it there. So, so we're going to talk about, let's say, directional. So phloem is bidirectional. It travels both up and down from the leaf to the roots and back, while xylem is only one way. It's from the roots to the leaves. So the water goes through and it gets out. You gotta remember that phloem, it's active transport, so it requires the cell to use some of its energy, while water is mostly passive process and capillary action and cohesion and adhesion. So similarity is that both travels within vascular tissues. You gotta know that vascular tissues are the phloem and xylem, and it will transport within them. In most parts of the world, commercial. Okay, never mind. Commercial potato crops are produced asexually by planting tubers. However, in some regions of the world, such as in Southeast Asia and in Peru, some potatoes are grown from true seeds. Okay, describe the advantages and disadvantages of growing potatoes from seeds rather than tubers. Okay, so advantages, you gotta talk about genetic diversity. Growing potatoes from seeds means increased genetic diversity, which obviously you're gonna talk about why genetic diversity is beneficial. It's high resistance, high resilient to diseases, high adaptability to environmental changes and all that, high storage, and so that true seeds are actually easier to store and transport instead unlike tubers. If you just break them, it's gonna die. Disadvantage, I guess, longer growing period. So obviously when you already have some sort of root, some sort of stuff that has a root and you just plant it, it's going to be much quicker than something that has to grow root from by itself. So it has a longer growing period. And always that seed, the yield from the first time when something grows, it usually is lower. It's the first generation of yield is usually lower. You don't have to know this, but it's just that's how generally the world works. The first yield, there's so much potential factors that could affect the yield. Maybe some environmental factors that the seed is not adapting to the local environment, so it leads to less yield. While the tubers, it's already developed and it has much more adaptability that it will essentially yield more potatoes in the first yield. And that's it.